Good morning, Unity on Greenville. Glad you guys showed up in spite of our inclement weather. Start with a picture of what you'd like to be. Fill in your picture with what you'd like to see, because you are the star. See yourself as you are, as great as you dare. Practice your picture until you can see it. Oh, feel with the feeling, feel it until you can be it, until you can be it. Take an idea, then experiment. Expand your idea, oh, until the pieces fit. Imagine your best, so you live vividly, as great as you dare, as you dare. So practice your picture until you can see it. Feel with the feeling, feel it now, until you can be it. Oh, practice your picture. Why don't you see it, just see it now. Feel with the feeling until you can be it. I know you can be it. I know you can be it. Oh, till you can be it. Woo, practice. Practice makes perfect. Practice your picture until you can see it. Don't you see it? Feel with your feelings until you can be it, be it, be it. Practice your picture until you can see it. Feel with your feelings until you can be it. Practice, practice, practice your picture until you can see it. Feel with the feeling until you can be it. No, you can't be it.
Morning. Thank you, Rachel. How are you this morning? Good to see you all. Welcome to Unity on Greenville. Welcome to the folks that are joining us virtually, staying home under their warm blanket with a cup of coffee while a few of us brave the cold weather. I'm Wesley Baker, and I'm glad to be your celebration assistant today. Glad to be here with you. We have Lesa Walker, a licensed Unity teacher, as our guest speaker today. We have Sandra De La Cruz as our prayer chaplain, and then we have Raina Welton as our keeper of the flame back in the corner. So we got a full house today. And we have a few announcements. It's time to renew our membership, so if you haven't done that yet, we'd appreciate you making an acknowledgement of membership renewal. The best way to do it right now is to send an email to unity@dallasunity.org and leave us your name, your address, and your phone number, and just an acknowledgement that you'd like to renew your membership. Because we have a community meeting coming up and we need to have the memberships renewed. Which is next is our annual church community meeting on February 27th. It'll be upstairs, and we'll also have it via Zoom if you want to join in virtually. If you'd like to get the e-news, if you're not getting that weekly, you can go to our website. You can go to upcoming events. You get e-news sign up, and you'll get a weekly email from Unity on Greenville. And while you're on the website, you can connect with us. You can click on About Us, Resources, and then there's different ways you can connect with us and join us virtually. While you're there, we always appreciate your donations, and we really appreciate the support that we've gotten during the pandemic. And while you're there, you can make an electronic donation by clicking on Donate, or you can send a check to Unity on Greenville at the address on the screen. And while we're there, we'll bless the offerings that we have received and those that we will receive. The offering blessing is on the screen if you'd like to recite it with me. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. With gratitude, we commit to using our gifts to good. And now we'll go to our prayer.
My name is Sandra Dela Cruz, and I'm your prayer chaplain today. If you have a request for prayer after the service, I will be in the back of the sanctuary, and I will be happy to pray with you. Let us prepare for prayer. Let us find that quiet that is within us, that light that is within our heart that glows brightly. We know that that is the Spirit of God, the one who is all good and all caring. Let us today ask for prayers, not only for others, but for ourselves. As we ask for health for all of those who are not well, let us also ask for health for ourselves, knowing that we are perfect beings and that every cell in our body is whole. As we ask for compassion for others, let us also affirm the compassion that we have for ourselves. As we pray for safety and security and affirm that for others, let us affirm it for ourselves as well. As we pray for the light and the Spirit of God, knowing that they are there within all others, they only need to ask. Let us also affirm that for ourselves. We receive the gifts of God every day. We only need to look around. We only need to accept that God is with us always and that we are within God. And with this prayer, we know that all is well. Amen.
I'd like to invite you into a time of meditation. If you would just maybe close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, shutting out the outer and beginning to move into the inner. Place your feet on the floor, grounded to Mother Earth. And focus on your breathing. Let's do a couple of breaths together, a big deep breath, and then just whoosh, let it all out at once. Another big deep breath, and whoosh, let it all out at once. See how that feels in your body. If some relaxation begins to occur. And then focus your breathing on your belly. As you breathe in slowly, deeply into that belly space, that area of wisdom, of life, of release. begin to feel your body relax. Begin to feel your mind alert, waiting, anticipating. Imagine that you are floating in water, warm, enclosed, a dark space, a womb-like space of security, of warmth, connecting to source, connecting to life force energy that flows in the womb of Mother Earth, in the womb of Godness, in the womb of beingness. We relax and we begin to know deep, deep within us that all is well, that we are nurtured, we are loved beyond measure. In this space where Source supports us, holds us, envelops us. And as you feel yourself infused with that life force energy, see it moving up to your heart space. Feel your heart beginning to open, any hardnesses softening, any unforgivenesses releasing. See that heart space glowing with warm light, with the love that the all that is brings, basking in the presence, the power, the delight of the all love. Stay here for a moment, enveloped in love, enveloped in the Godness, in the beingness. With all that love, all that knowingness, we move our attention to our third eye, to our middle of our brain, to where we develop spiritual understanding. We allow illumination to enter, to enlighten. We see that light, that knowing that God is present in us, through us, around us. And we see that energy moving to our throat area, our fifth chakra. I invite you here to begin to awaken, to move, to come into this present space, bringing with you the power, the zeal, the voice of the all that is, that connection that we've made. As we gently move back into this room, opening our eyes, looking around us, becoming present to this space, we come with gratitude for the voice that we have been given, for the vision that we have seen. Knowing that we bring that forth into a world that we create full of love.
Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Do you get what you're hoping for? Look into the future at your open doors. What are you hoping for? Do you know? Once you were standing still in time, chasing a fantasy that filled your mind. Can you feel imagination within your reach? Laughing at the questions as you learn to be free. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Now looking back on all you planned, did spirit bring you every gift in your hand? There's no need to wait until you finally see all the answers to the questions are inside of me. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Do you get what you're hoping for? Look into your future at your open doors. What are you hoping for? Do you know? 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 Can you feel imagination setting you free? Laugh at the questions as you learn to be free. Do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Do you get what you're hoping for? Look into the future at your open door. What are you hoping for? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Do you know?
was gorgeous. I'm almost afraid to start the way I plan to start. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. That's all I'm going to do of that, because I have a menopausal voice. That was a beautiful, beautiful. Those songs that we grew up with, and yet it took me so long to figure out where I was going to and what I was doing. I grew up with that music, and it had so much wisdom in it, didn't it? So, prepare ye the way of the Lord. When you hear that song, what do you think of? I think of Godspell, yeah. Jesus Christ, superstar, who do you think that you are? And I think of the prophets. So most of us who were grown up in Christian traditions, the prophets were presented to us as people who were predicting Jesus. And that's about all that we cared about as far as the prophets went, right? And so here I am, I'm that Bible girl again, bringing back the prophets in 2002. Why in the heck in February of 2002 do I want to talk about prophets? Well, oh my gosh, 2022. Thank you, my friend June. 2022 in February. Part of the reason why it was on my mind is that we are entering into that season for nonviolence. Some of you have heard of it. I know that Reverend Karen always brought that into the year as part of a practice. It's a time of practicing ways that we can individually learn to be practicing nonviolent communication, nonviolent habits that we can bring into the world. And we're memorializing the death of Mohandas Gandhi on January 30th and the death of Martin Luther King Jr. on April 4th. And so it's 64 days of practice between those two deaths. And why do they make me think of prophets? Because I believe that those two men were modern day prophets. I believe that they had a special vision for bringing forth really the message of the Christ. But for Gandhi, it wasn't the message of the Christ. It was that he believed that all the world's great religions had a message of love, a central message of love and of non-resistance to what was in the world. And he was determined to bring that about, and he brought about great things for his country by putting into practice what he spoke of. Similarly, Martin Luther King Jr. did that in this country, and he actually learned from those texts. I was reading some of his work this week, and he talked about having nearly lost his vision for love. He nearly lost his vision for love in all the philosophical study that he did, all the religious study that he did. There were these people that believed that all people were good, and then these people that believed that people were sinful, and he figured it was somewhere in between. But through all that he was going through, he nearly lost that vision for love until he came upon the writings of Gandhi and was determined to study them and emulate them. So I'm so glad that he found those. So I love the prophets. I love the prophets of old. I got to study some Old Testament during my coursework, and I fell in love about 5 years ago with the idea of the prophets, not as fortune tellers. There was a lot of fortune telling going on back in the ancient times. There was a lot of oracles and tossing things and like dice and see what comes up. There was a lot of that going on, but that is not what the major and minor prophets of Israel were about. The major and minor prophets of Israel were ambassadors for social justice. They were God's ambassadors for social justice. Whether they liked it or not, I'm not always sure they knew where they were going to. They were in connection with God, and a lot of times they received marching orders from God, or that was their perception, that God was telling them, go do this, go say this. They threatened the powers that be of their time. They were called to speak out and to act in ways that could be seen as threatening to an oppressive government. See, Israel had built a wealthy nation, and they'd built it so that there was a lot of wealth at the top. The prophets, the priests, the kings lived in a lot of luxury and wealth, but the people that helped them build that, they didn't live so well. And God didn't like that. God didn't like what he was seeing with that separation. He believed that all of his people should be living in the abundance that his world had created, or her world, because our God doesn't have a gender or even a body. It is a force. But in these ancient times, they saw God as a being that was always with them. But some had more, and a lot of people had less. And so these prophets were called up to hold the feet to the fire of the oppressors. They were called up to tell them what was going to happen to their nation, to their country, if they didn't listen, if they didn't put things in order and make things equitable for the people. They were called to act out in unusual ways, sometimes to stand in certain ways or position them certain in ways, like Ezekiel laying on his side, eating only small amounts of food for over a year, to call out the idea that that no one should be starving in Israel. They were called to act out. I remember standing actually outside this church with Reverend Karen, just standing for justice, just standing. No words, no calling out, maybe a sign here and there, but just standing, letting people know that there were people standing for justice in the world. So they were called out to use their voice, to use their actions. They believed that it was God's voice. We know that they were men and women just like us. So God's voice was coming through a human being. And that's how we can do that too. They had direct experience of God, a direct experience, a knowingness. And when I read Marcus Borg's book on reading the Bible again for the first time, if you guys don't like the Bible, I suggest reading that book because it will reintroduce you to this wonderful sacred text that unity is founded upon. But reading the Bible for the first time, he talks about the prophets as being God intoxicated. God intoxicated. I just love the sound of that. I love the feel of that. I don't know, how many of you have ever been intoxicated? There's kind of a feeling of freedom, a kind of feeling of everything is good. It's just kind of this floating, free-form feeling. They had that with their connection with this godness, this beingness, the allness that is. They felt that presence so powerfully that it was as if they were intoxicated. And like most intoxicated people, they didn't hold back their words. They got out there and they said what needed to be said. And they did what needed to be done. They put visions and words and ideas that came to them in these times of presencing God into action, into words in the world. Sometimes they question. There was one guy called Habakkuk. I heard a sermon on him last night, and it was all about, is it okay to question? And I think it is okay to question. Hey, I think when we question, it helps us to clarify. It helps us to clarify our ideas. It helps us to clarify our reasons for why we're doing what we're doing. So he questioned. It would be a lot easier if we could just all live in this world that Micah, one of the prophets, saw. He saw a world where God told him that strong nations will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nations will not take up the sword against nations, nor will they train for war anymore. Now, wouldn't that be a vision to live into for our world today, as we see nations literally lining up to invade other nations? We see nations flying over other nations, dropping bombs. Wouldn't we like to just go live on a mountaintop where we could just see Micah's vision? But prophets don't get to live on the mountaintop all the time. They don't get to live in the desert all the time. They don't get to live in that vision, in that presence all the time. Well, they do actually. But they have to go out into the world because that's what their calling is, to go out into the world, to share their vision. And they have hardships. The prophets of old were laughed out of town. They were ridiculed, spat on. And that happened in our time too. I love this book, Strength to Love by Martin Luther King Jr. And in the end of it, he talks about his pilgrimage to nonviolence. And he talks about having been imprisoned in Alabama and Georgia jails 12 times. You know that wasn't a happy thing for a black man in the South in the 1950s. His home was bombed twice. Days seldom passed that his family and he were not recipients of threats of death. He went through a near-fatal stabbing prior to being assassinated. And yet he determined, if only to save myself from bitterness, I have attempted to see my personal ordeals as an opportunity to transfigure myself and heal people involved in the tragic situation that now obtains. So he determined that he would not settle into bitterness. He would transform. He would transform through these hardships that he went through. And how was he able to do this? I'm going to read this straight out of here because I just thought it was beautiful. He was able to do this because of that presence. His past idea of a personal God was little more than a metaphysical category that I found theologically and philosophically satisfying. But now it is a living reality that has been validated in the experiences of everyday life. God has been profoundly real to me in recent years. In the midst of outer dangers, I have felt an inner calm. In the midst of lonely days and dreary nights, I have heard an inner voice saying, "Lo, I will be with you." I have felt the power of God transforming the fatigue of despair into the buoyancy of hope. I am convinced that the universe is under the control of a loving purpose, and that in the struggle for righteousness, man has cosmic companionship. I think he might have been one of us. So he was able to go through hardships. The prophets are able to go through hardships because of that deep knowingness that God was always present. It was an experience that they had. It wasn't something they read in a book somewhere. It wasn't something they spent hours philosophizing with their friends about. It was a deep knowingness. So what about us? What does this have to do with us? Well, this all started with my words for the year. Remember your words for the year? Remember 5 weeks ago? Meditation and writing down some words for the year. Well, I thought that my words were power and voice. Those were the two words that came to me in my meditation. And I thought, well, this is cool. I'll just go around doing public speaking and I'll learn how to hone my skills and get more comfortable being in the front of the room and saying what I have to say. Power and voice, right? And then I realized you have to have something to say. You have to have something to say. And so I had to dig into my words a little more deeply, and I hope that you all are digging into your words deeply. I hope that this year is presenting you with opportunities to go deep with those themes that came to you in that meditation for 2022. So the power and the voice reside in the fifth chakra. So the chakras are an energy system. We have security, we have safety and creativity and wisdom, love. We have voice and expression in the chakra system. It's located here in the fifth chakra. It's an intersection for our higher chakras, which are about illumination and faith. Charles Fillmore had a similar idea. I'm sure he probably kind of borrowed from the chakra thing, because that probably is an older idea. But he had a similar idea where he located the 12 powers of man in what he called energy centers inside our body. He located power here, power, where we find our authentic voice. The work of the fifth chakra is finding your authentic voice and then becoming able to express that authentic voice. How do we do that? Well, first of all, you have to accept that you have an authentic voice. You have to accept that you have an authentic voice, and you do. Because each and every one of us is here as an individualized expression of spirit. Yes, we are all one spirit connected in a spiritual realm. And we know that, and we feel that oftentimes with each other. But we incarnate into individual bodies with individual experiences, with personalities, each one different from the other. And as we work with spirit, we take that personality and we grow that individualized expression of spirit. So number one, we accept that we have an authentic voice. And a lot of people have a hard time finding that or believing that about yourself, but you have an individual expression of spirit to bring forth. And how do we find that? We sit still. We sit still. We cut off Facebook, we cut off the radio pundits, we turn off the TV. We take time on a regular basis to sit still. There is a quote that says, "Be still and know that I am God." Be still and know God. We have to have times, Jesus gave us that example where we withdraw from other people. We be still and we tune in. Father Richard Rohr talks about these bodies being receivers. These are like our radio receivers, and we tune in to what Spirit has to say for us. We get tuned into that vibration, to that frequency by being still, calming the chatter. We learn to listen. We listen body, mind, and spirit because we can't connect body, mind, and spirit. It's all one. I think a lot of times we tend to focus on the idea that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience, and that's true. We are spiritual beings, but we are incarnated in bodies, and we have them for a reason. And part of it is so that we can listen to that body telling you it's tired. Sometimes that body can tell you that you need to eat better. Sometimes that body can give you signals like a clench in your gut when something doesn't feel right, for you. Maybe you're headed in a wrong direction, or maybe something doesn't feel right in the world and you feel it here, and that's a sign that maybe there's something for you in that. So learn to listen to the body, and listen to the body with a mind that's your higher mind, not that ego mind telling you, no, you don't have anything to say, you don't have anything to bring into this situation. Just listen with your higher mind, the mind that's connected to spirit, the mind that knows truth, that has spiritual understanding, that sees facts out there but knows that there's truth standing under those facts. Listen with your mind. Listen to nature. A lot of people were listening to nature this weekend as we had that freeze, and then as all the ice started to break up, I saw people commenting on how cool that sound was, just hearing the ice starting to release. Listen to nature, listen to the birds, you know. It was nice to hear birds again after they went and hid somewhere and we didn't hear them for a couple of days. Listen to nature and learn to listen to others. If we can learn to be with one another in love, build a posse for yourself, some people around you that share your vision for the world, and be able to listen to the truth that they might have to give you. And take it in with love. Take it in with wisdom and love and understanding, because there might be something in that for you. Listening to others. Learn to see. Learn to see yourself as God sees you. We are here to be mirrors of the Godness. Nothing but love. That's how God sees us, nothing but love. So learn to see yourself as God sees you. Learn to see others as God sees others. As we say, Namaste, I behold the Spirit in you. Or we say, I behold the Christ in you. And I was reading a book by Reverend Jackie Lawson this week called Fierce Love. I highly recommend. She talked about an African Zulu greeting, and I will probably not say it quite right, but they say Sawubona or Sawubona, and it means we see you. We see you. We, with all the ancestors, all the spirits that be, we see you. And the answer, if you're part of their tribe, is Sikana, which means I exist. So I say, we see you, and you say, I exist because you see me. It's a beautiful idea. I see, and then another answer can be Yebo, Sawubana. I see you seeing me. I see you seeing me. So we see one another as mirrors of the all that is. We see that. And we exist in community because we're all here seeing one another and seeing the truth about one another. And as we take these ideas of sitting and listening and seeing, we'll begin to get in touch with what is ours to do? What is our passion? What do you love? What do you love? And sometimes you have to go back a ways to get in touch with what you really love. I was thinking about this question for myself, and I was thinking my husband and I go camping a lot. We take our bicycles, and if you go in the state parks, there's not usually too much traffic, so you can ride your bikes kind of freely around. And I'm in the habit of doing it without my helmet on if I'm just going somewhere nearby. Because I love that childhood feeling of riding your bike really fast and the wind just blowing through your hair. I love that feeling. So that's something I love. I love certain feelings. I love certain movements. I love to dance. What do you love? Do you love to paint? Do you love words? Do you love to sing, to create songs? What do you love? Because that can become your prophetic action. That can become your prophetic voice. It might not be a voice crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord. But it can be a voice on paper. It can be a beautiful watercolor. It can be a poem. When I first was studying the prophets 5 years ago, I was at a conference, and I was in it. We were learning mind-body medicine skills, and we were in small groups. And at the same time, I was taking 3 Unity classes online. And I also had a full-time job and a child and a husband. There was a lot going on. And it was hard to figure out how I was going to get this homework done on minor prophets. How was I going to write? This particular teacher liked creative projects. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting creative. I'm just going to write a quick 1-page paper about this. But I was in this group of women, and it was 2017. There was a lot of angst going on in this particular group. There was a lot of people not sure how this new era was going to affect their children with mental health, their interracial marriage, their children growing up in that. Medical school, there was a doctor who was helping to bring more racial equity into the admissions process of a medical school. There was a lot of angst in this group. And as I thought about the prophets, and I sat with this group of women, my project became a poem about these women as prophets, these women as people who were doing hard work, going into their core, finding their voice, and then bringing it forth into the world. And sometimes our passion might show up as things that we don't like, things that we hate. Things that you hate. How can passion show up as things that you hate? Well, for me this week, listening to the news, it was a little hard to find love for neo-Nazis waving flags in Orlando, the home of Mickey Mouse. And it was a little hard to find love for bomb threats at multiple historically black colleges and universities. And it was a little hard to find love for a book burning by a pastor in Tennessee. These are all things I heard in the news. It was hard to find love. There was something not love built up in me when I heard these things. So when you feel that, don't be upset that you're not feeling love. Know that that might be a place where there's something that you want to build, something that you want to bring forth into the world, something that you want to help change. It's a new way to look at the news. Trying to see what is mine to do about this. What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to put out into the world to counter this kind of ugliness that we see so much? What is mine to do? What is mine to do to help create what Desmond Tutu said was God's dream? That is that you and I and all of us will realize that we are family, that we are made for togetherness, for goodness, and for compassion. And that is stuck together. MLK said that power at its best, that power of our voice, power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. And Isaiah, the ancient prophet, he was given a vision of the world that the wolf will dwell with the lamb, and the leopard will lie down with the kid and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child will lead them. That's a dream that we have for the world, and we can use our voice to make it come true. I hope you guys will join me in that. Thank you.
I wish I knew how it would have felt to be free. I wish I could break every chain holding me, and I wish I could say all the things I could say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear for the whole world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart, remove all the bars that tear us apart. And I wish that you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see, we'd agree, every man should be free. I wish I could give what I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things I can do, though I'm way overdue. I'll be starting anew. at the sea. Then I'd sing 'cause I know. Yes, I'd sing 'cause I know. Yeah, I'd sing 'cause I know how it feels to be free. Do you know? Do you know? Do you know how it feels? Yeah, how it feels to be free. Come on, come on, come on now. Let's feel how it feels. Feel how it feels. I know how it feels. Don't you know how it feels? Yeah, sing 'cause you know how it feels to be. I wanna be free.
Yeah, it's always hard to follow Rachel and keep the energy level up. We are blessed to have Rachel at Unity on Greenville. So thank you very much. At Unity on Greenville, we have a mission affirmation that we'd like to share. If you would, it's on the screen. Recite it with me. With divine love as our foundation, we live unity principles and, excuse me, we awaken to truth. We affirm the innate goodness of all and our oneness with creation. We also have an affirmation for our youth who are meeting virtually. It's on the screen if you'd recite it with me. We, as Unity on Greenville, claim the truth for our youth. We teach principles to empower each child and teen to fulfill their divine potential. Through fellowship, love, prayer, and meditation, they connect with God, each other, and our world. Amen. We also have an affirmation as we are searching for our minister, and it's on the screen. We welcome and affirm with love the perfect spiritual leader who embraces the truth of unity principles. And now, our word of the day. Our word of the day is dominion. The affirmation is claiming dominion. I am calm and confident. I am a powerful spiritual being endowed with dominion, the authority to take command of my thoughts, words, and actions. Even as I work to change my circumstances, I remember I am not constrained by what is happening around me. Claiming dominion, I choose my response in all situations. I live with peace, poise, and confidence. I claim dominion over my thoughts and feelings. I recognize limiting thoughts. I train myself to affirm my spiritual power and freedom. Divine wisdom guides me. I feel the strength of the indwelling Christ presence moment by moment, thought by thought, and as I use my dominion to establish a positive, fulfilling direction for my life. Our scripture for the day is from Genesis. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion." Thank you.
Yes, there is peace on earth. I know it begins in me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God, our Creator, united are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, there is peace on earth, for this is the moment now. With every step I take, I make this my joyous vow. I take each moment and live each moment Yes, there is peace on earth, and I know it begins in me.
And now we're going to affirm together our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Thank you.
I wish I knew how. Oh, how it feels to be free. Yeah, and I wish I could fly like a bird that's in the sky. Oh, I'd go straight up to the sun, so high, and I wish I could be all I'm longing to be. Sing it loud, sing it clear. Sing it loud, sing it clear. Sing it loud, sing it clear. So the whole world can be free. Y'all have a great week.